Hello and welcome back to another episode of Media Munchers. I'm Mathian.
And I'm Adrian.
And today we are going to bring back the news a little bit. I just found a couple stories that interested me, and I wanted to get your thoughts on Big Apple. The first one we're going to bring up is Disney CEO Bob Chapek considering advertising on Disney Plus. And when we first found this, you mentioned, and you also drew the parallel like he did to the Hulu Plus model, or Hulu, I guess. Is there any different names for it, or is it just Hulu without ads? I think it's just that, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Regardless, you can pay more for, less ads. And can you get completely ad-free Hulu, or is it like $40 a month?
Can.
It seems like really expensive.
It's definitely an upcharge.
Yeah, definitely. I know they have structured tiers where it's like less ads, and then I don't even think, do they have a completely free one at all? Or just like a tons of ads?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
That's so weird. Anyway, yeah, it just blows my mind that they were the first to have so many tiers in their model. And now we have the CEO of Disney like thinking the same thing. In the interview, he even said, I think what's driving it is that it's a great combination of great content and it draws a lot of eyeballs, a lot of interest. But at the same time, really sophisticated modeling and technology enables their advertisers to target exactly who they want. He later brings up kids and all of that. But I'm like, I think the whole appeal of all these subscription services, especially like Netflix, is like there is no ads.
Right, exactly.
Because if they bring them back, we're just going back to cable, but with extra steps, aren't we not?
Yeah.
So I was just like, bruh, there's no way they're thinking about this. At the end of the day, it's all about that green, Big Apple. They want those greens. So let me ask you this. If they do implement that, are you guys still keeping Disney Plus, or does it depend on how much they change prices up?
I guess ultimately, yeah. I think me and most people probably would.
Yeah.
Continue buying or paying for Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
But it is that sort of diminishing
returns and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially like I think if they do it too extremely, it's gonna push a lot of people back to pirating and all that stuff. Because as of what it says, the Walt Disney Company reported that Disney Plus had 116 million subscribers worldwide as of the third quarter of 2021. So like they've come a long way, and I'm sure there's plenty more for them to get. I think Netflix has like a lot more than that. Don't they have like something like 500 million? Something like that. I'm going to find out real quick. I'm actually super intrigued. See, Netflix subscriber count. I'm sure it fluctuates depending on what they do and don't have on.
Right,
As of 2021, they have 209 million global paid memberships. Wow. I thought it would be way more than that. That's still a lot. But man, Disney caught up almost pretty quickly.
Yeah, they did.
So yeah, that begs the question. I mean, I think a lot of people would leave Netflix because they haven't had ads ever, well, like to my knowledge, in terms of like the streaming service. So like to suddenly switch up, but I think if Disney switches up, Netflix might consider it.
You think so?
I don't know, because like that's a lot of extra dough. You know what I mean? And if they see that Disney Plus doesn't slow down their subscriber count and their success, they might follow suit because that's a lot more money in their pocket as opposed to just subscriptions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just interesting that these big streaming services are edging back towards that, because I could say the average consumer obviously doesn't want that. You know what I mean? No one wants to see more ads than they have to see.
Right.
So especially if you're paying for content. So I don't know how successful Hulu is, but Disney owns them too now, so it doesn't really matter. Moving on. This I thought was really interesting. Apple is researching whether data from its iPhone could help detect depression, the Wall Street Journal reported. I thought that was really intriguing because we're in the world of a lot of wearables. We have our Apple Watches or whatever, Samsung Galaxy Gear, whatever they have, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And
it's really interesting that in this study that they're conducting with researchers from UCLA, they're working with like the Biogen, and the University of California. They're working with these researchers to like use the iPhone's video camera, keyboard, audio sensors, as well as the Apple Watch to collect this data. And they would include how we speak, how often and how fast we walk, our heart rate, our breathing rates, our sleep patterns, and more. And on one hand, I'm like, well, that's really neat because like, not everyone could live in a doctor's office.
Yeah.
So like, it would be really neat if your technology could tell you, hey man, like maybe go get seen. You've been actually pretty slow lately, or you've been kind of weird and drowsy. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, I'm like, man, that's kind of like, it's almost pushing the boundaries of like privacy. I'm like, how invasive is technology supposed to be? You know what I mean? Like, and can it be used for good or bad? I don't know. What are your initial impressions on it? Do you think it'd be?
Well, I think there could be some good that comes out of it actually. Mm-hmm. Obviously, but yeah, it is questionable Like, what could they do with this data?
And like, who owns it? Who owns your data? You know what I mean? Because like, and what do they do with it? Do they monetize it? Is it purely for research? Is it purely, benevolent? Is it just for your own good? You know what I mean?
Right,
There's a lot of questions that come with it.
Yeah.
And I wonder how effective this can be. Because like with anything, nothing's perfect. You know what I mean? So like, what if like someone gets like a false positive and they're like, hey, you're depressed. You should go get checked. And then they're like, a normal sane person is like, what? I'm depressed. And you know what I mean? It like wrecks them psychologically and they have to go get help. And the doctor's like, nah, you're good. Chill.
I wonder how accurate these things could actually be.
Right.
It is just like, I would assume it would be for the watch, right?
Yeah, primarily it's actually primarily the iPhone as well as the watch in conjunction, because the Apple Watch tracks your sleep and obviously how much you walk and move and stand up and all that.
Yeah.
And in the newer Apple Watches, you can actually get blood oxygen and there's all kinds of sensors they're stuffing in these things nowadays. And but they're also using the iPhone's video camera. So I'm like, well, does that stay on board? Is there like onboard facial recognition on the newer ones with Face ID, where like it detects that you're frowning a lot more, or that you're displeased? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that would mean that it would be watching you the whole time.
Right, but who's it? Like right. Are they gonna structure it such that it's onboard technology that like it only stays local to the iPhone, or is it actually being sent back to headquarters and all these algorithms are decrypting what you look like, and like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of questions, a lot of ethical things raised by it, but if they could do it right and they could convince the public that it's safe and not intrusive and then they're not going to capitalize on us, that could be really interesting. And I wonder how much good can come of this.
Yeah.
So I'm tentatively on board. I'm like, how effective can that be? So I guess that's what research is for. They're going to find out. So that piqued my interest. But we're going to take a small break. And when we get back, we're going to review What If Episode 6. Okay, and we're back. And it's time to start a review of What If Episode 6. Killmonger to the rescue? ? This is the episode I've been waiting to speak with you about for about a good week now, because I really thoroughly enjoyed this, and we talked about it briefly in passing before this, and you basically said that on one hand I misspoke and I said, wow, this is like kind of like a better Black Panther, but you actually corrected me and you were like, well, this is so good because of all the context that we have already. You know what I mean?
Right.
You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, having seen Black Panther, having that information already known, and then being presented with this new sort of take on Michael B. Jordan's character's story.
And that's what I really latched onto when you said that, because I was like, you know what? This is what I meant. I meant that like this was the most compelling like origin story for that character that I have seen, and I really grasped onto it and I attached to it because I was like, this is crazy. Because it really like spins the whole MCU into like his path, you know what I mean? I mean, between like the opening, which was basically like beat for beat Iron Man 1, right? Until he saves him.
Right.
And then they come back and he's just Mr. Joe Schmo, Tony loves him, obviously, he saved his life. And he literally calls out like what was his name?
Obadiah Stane.
Obadiah Stane and his whole plan, and he was like clicking through him like, is he a good guy in this? Like he's he's helping Tony out, and Obadiah was like, no, I don't know anything about that, and like he's I got the read receipts. Come on now, he busted it on him.
Yeah,
and then he gets into a whole scuffle on stage, and then he like makes him head of like security, which is like a joke for Happy or something. And
right. Because in Iron Man 3, he actually had that position.
Right. Yeah, I had forgotten about that. I was like, oh no, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So that was funny. Pepper's skeptical the whole time, naturally. And I thought it was a really solid episode. The pace was amazing. I mean, it's 33 minutes like the rest of the episodes, but it feels, because we cover so much ground plot-wise, it feels like it could have been an hour-long episode.
Yeah, there was almost no wasted minute.
No, and I felt like everything landed, everything worked. Mick Wingert's Tony Stark was really convincing. I appreciated the voice acting there.
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah, I love the we talked about it and everyone's beat it to death already, but I love that they kept in Michael B. Jordan's love of anime, and like they made it like Gundam inspired, like these drones.
That was dope.
Because I was like, wait, is he gonna help Tony become Iron Man? But no, they go a more logical direction for their universe, and I was like, oh, okay, they make just basically drones like from Iron Man 2, but better. And I was like, that's interesting. And he's just climbing the ladder, man. I mean, Killmonger is just climbing up the ladder, and he's like kind of making things go his way. And then they set up the whole vibranium deal, reminiscent of Age of Ultron, with
Ulysses Claw,
right?
Yep.
Exactly. And then they have Rhodey up there running point, and I'm like, what is going down? And sure enough, we find out about the double cross, and I'm like, whoa, okay, so it's moving along, man. And I'm there for it the whole time. And of course, we get our introduction. He makes his way to Wakanda in a similar way that he did in Black Panther. He takes Claw up to it, makes a peace offering, slides his little way in, and it's even more compelling because he claims to be on their side and he claims to want what's best for Wakanda, and he feels like he missed out, and he kind of uses his uncle's guilt against him. And he really slides his way damn near to the top, and he even fights his own drones, and that works, right? His little backdoor method. I mean, we talked about it earlier, but that everything landed for him except like that Wakanda Forever call.
Yeah, that was a little awkward.
I was like, oh, it doesn't sound right coming from you. And then we even have T'Challa again, like because he kills him during that exchange for the vibranium. He kills Black Panther, and so he ends up taking his spot by drinking the purple herb. I don't know the specific name.
The heart-shaped herb.
The heart-shaped herb. Yeah, he drinks it. He becomes it, and he even talks to him in the afterlife, and he's like, "Was it worth it?" And it's like he's like, "You're gonna fail."
Yeah, he had his like little Thanos moment.
He did. Yeah, cool. He did. Yeah. And I was like, man, and he's not phased. He's like, "No, I did what I had to do." Yeah. And I was like, damn, like it was just everything was so compelling because like I wasn't rooting for him, but like God, I really appreciated his execution and his attention to detail and all the thought he put into it. I was
like, he was very methodical. His approach to it.
And I was like, and then that's why I think I attached to it so much because the parallel between Infinity War, like where the villain technically wins, but the villain is so damn had so much conviction and had a plan and felt righteous in their own way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's what really allowed me to attach onto this what if. And sure enough, Shuri's skeptical the whole time, and by the end, we're basically greeted with like a mid-credit scene, if you would. The last scene is Shuri meeting with Pepper and like, hey, our interests align. Like let's handle this. Yeah. And so they're obviously setting up a sequel, if you would, in season 2 to this, and I'm very interested to see how it goes down. It's like I'm the most invested in this episode as of right now. So.
Yeah, it was really cool. I like the I think the animation was best utilized in this episode.
Yeah, I agree.
Specifically with the drones, seeing them in the battle in Wakanda, that just looked stunning.
It did. Yeah. Everything really hit, especially with that fight.
Yeah.
I know in the past, I wouldn't call it Uncanny Valley, but I would say like they either don't draw enough lines on some of the characters' faces, or they draw like too many, and it looks kind of weird and jarring.
Yeah.
But everything seemed to work really well. Everyone was textured really well, and everything was really believable. And the animation, like you said, really served the medium, the show best in this episode. I would agree with that. Like I said, it was just like, for me, it was like up there, man. Like 9.5, 10 out of 10. What if? Like it was really, it's like my favorite one this season. It has to be,
mine too.
Easily, hands down. So if the rest can keep up this quality or intrigue me as much as this one, that's gonna be great. When do you think they're gonna cross over? Because I'm pretty sure the next one, the one that just dropped yesterday, is the Thor one.
The party Thor.
Party Thor. Yeah, I don't know anything beyond that. So we're about to go watch it after this. But when do you think they're gonna cross over? Like 9, 10, or?
I don't know. So are they stopping at 10 or is it 12 episodes?
No, I was reading and I think it was closer to like 12 or 13.
Yeah?
What if episodes?
Because if that's the case, then maybe around episode 10 or 11.
Yeah, and then if so, do you think that's just going to be a one-off, or is it going to affect the rest of them going forward?
I feel like they're just dipping their toes in. I think they might just do it for 1, maybe 2 episodes, and then setting up what, like, having them do more in the second season with crossing over.
Right, because if they do cross over towards the end of this one, and whether it stays one-off or it stays confined to one universe, they still have to be able to use this what-if concept to explore separate universes still. So I think they're going to try and balance it, like you said. Like, they'll dip their toe, but then they'll go back to these one-off universes, but then something has to bring everyone back together in another episode. So I think that's it's an interesting way to go, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how it goes. Now let me ask you something. What if anything you want? Is there, if you could like just call the shot on one episode, a concept that you want to see written and produced and animated, what would you want to see and why?
So I was actually thinking, because Tony in this episode was talking about the similarities between him and Killmonger.
Right.
And I actually think that Loki is kind of closer to Killmonger than Tony is in some ways, and so I think them having some kind of interaction
would be neat.
Would be pretty neat.
No, I didn't think about it like that. That would be interesting. You know what might actually make that end up happening? This is just totally spitballing.
Yeah.
So we go back to the episode. What if T'Challa was Star-Lord, right?
Right.
And
right.
then like somehow he's like, nah, I'm coming for you. Like I gotta go handle you, right? Like Killmonger has to go. Like he just has some sort of reason why he needs to go out into space, right?
Yeah.
Uses whoever's help, and then either Loki aids him in that, or maybe Loki works with like. Maybe he works with him, or maybe Loki works with T'Challa. I don't know. Like the three of them interacting in space would be like crazy. Like I don't know. Let's see what they get into. So I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, Big Apple. But yeah, that's our review of What If episode 6. It's a short one, so I think that's all we got today. So come back next week where we got What If episode 7 and more. We'll figure it out. For Media Munchers, I'm Mathian.
And I'm Adrian.
And we'll catch you next time.